The tale of the Incubus is one of the oldest and most chilling in the annals of demonology, a nightmarish spectre that has haunted the dreams of humanity for millennia. The Incubus is no ordinary demon. It is a creature of pure malevolence, a fiend born from the darkest recesses of the human mind. Its purpose? To invade the sanctity of our sleep, to violate and torment those most vulnerable, often women, when they are at their most defenseless. The Incubus is more than just a figment of folklore. It is a manifestation of primal fear, an embodiment of the horrors that lie just beyond the edge of the waking world. Descriptions of the Incubus vary, but they all share a common thread of horror. This demon is typically depicted as a male entity, though it can shift its form to suit its sinister needs. Its appearance is grotesque, a twisted parody of a human male, with features that inspire revulsion and terror. Its skin is often described as sickly, pale, or deathly ashen, stretched taut over a gaunt skeletal frame. Eyes that glow with an unnatural, hellish light peer out from deep, hollow sockets, burning with malevolent intelligence. Its mouth is filled with sharp, jagged teeth, capable of inflicting unspeakable pain. Some accounts describe long, clawed hands, perfect for gripping and holding its victims down as it fulfills its dark purpose. The Incubus is said to have leathery, bat-like wings, which it uses to silently slip through the darkness of the night, entering the homes of the unsuspecting without a sound. In some tales, its body is covered in coarse black hair, while in others, it is smooth and slick, almost oily, like the skin of a serpent. But perhaps the most terrifying aspect of the Incubus is its presence, a suffocating, oppressive aura that fills the room like a thick, choking smoke. Those who encounter this demon often speak of an overwhelming sense of dread, a feeling that something ancient and evil has entered their space. The symptoms of an Incubus encounter are as varied as they are terrifying. Victims often report waking in the middle of the night, paralyzed, unable to move or speak, as the demon sits upon their chest, crushing the air from their lungs. This phenomenon is known as sleep paralysis, and while science offers explanations for this terrifying experience, many believe it to be the work of the Incubus. The victims feel an immense weight pressing down on them, as though they are being slowly suffocated. They may also experience vivid, horrifying hallucinations, visions of the Incubus leering over them, its face inches from theirs, or the sensation of cold, clammy hands grasping at their skin. In the worst cases, the Incubus is said to engage in sexual assault, an act so vile and invasive that it leaves its victims scarred both physically and psychologically. These encounters are not mere dreams. They are described as intensely real, with the victims feeling every horrifying detail. In medieval times, these experiences were often attributed to the work of the Incubus, a demon sent by Satan himself to corrupt and torment the innocent. Women were particularly vulnerable to these attacks, and many were left traumatized, haunted by the memories of their demonic encounter for the rest of their lives. One of the most notorious accounts of an Incubus encounter comes from the 16th century, involving a French woman named Madeleine de la Palud. Madeleine was a pious woman, devoted to her faith, yet she became the target of a relentless Incubus. The attacks began in the year 1566, and for several months Madeleine suffered nightly visitations from the demon. She would wake in the dead of night, her body pinned to the bed by an unseen force, The air around her would grow cold, and she would feel the presence of the incubus, an oppressive, suffocating weight pressing down on her chest, rendering her completely helpless. Madeleine described the incubus as a hideous creature, with a face twisted in a grotesque mockery of human features. Its eyes glowed with an unnatural fire, and its breath was foul, like the stench of rotting flesh. The demon would speak to her in a language she could not understand, its voice a low, guttural growl that filled her with unspeakable terror. The attacks grew more violent with each passing night, leaving Madeleine physically exhausted and mentally shattered. Her health deteriorated rapidly, and she became emaciated, her once vibrant spirit crushed under the weight of her nightly torment. Desperate for relief, Madeleine sought the help of the local clergy, who attempted to exorcise the demon from her home. They prayed over her, sprinkled holy water throughout the house, and performed rituals meant to banish the incubus back to the hell from which it came. For a time the attacks ceased, and Madeleine believed she had finally been freed from the demon's grasp. But the respite was short-lived. The incubus returned with a vengeance, its attacks more brutal than ever before. It seemed to revel in her suffering, feeding off her fear and despair. Madeleine's plight became known throughout the region, and many feared that the incubus would soon turn its attention to them. In a final, desperate attempt to rid herself of the demon, Madeleine left her home and entered a convent, hoping that the sacred ground would protect her from the incubus. But even within the hallowed walls of the convent, the demon found her. The nuns who cared for her reported hearing strange noises at night, the sound of something large and heavy moving through the halls, doors creaking open on their own, and the sound of Madeleine's screams echoing through the stone corridors. Her health continued to decline, and she died within a year of entering the convent, her body frail and broken. The story of Madeleine de la Palud is just one of many that have been passed down through the centuries, a chilling reminder of the incubus's power to torment and destroy. But is the legend of the incubus still alive today? In a world where science and reason often prevail, belief in demons like the incubus has waned. Yet there are still those who claim to have encountered this malevolent entity, their stories eerily similar to those told hundreds of years ago. Modern accounts of sleep paralysis often echo the experiences of those who believed they were visited by the incubus. Victims described the same sensations of paralysis, the same feeling of an oppressive presence in the room, and the same terrifying visions of a malevolent being hovering over them. While science attributes these experiences to a combination of neurological factors and the body's natural sleep processes, the fear they invoke is no less real. For those who have encountered the incubus, whether in ancient times or today, the terror is unforgettable. The legend of the incubus endures, a dark reminder of the horrors that can invade our most private and vulnerable moments. It is a tale that continues to fascinate and terrify, a story that has been told and retold across cultures and centuries. Whether viewed as a literal demon or as a symbolic representation of the darkest corners of the human psyche, the incubus remains one of the most chilling figures in the world of folklore and demonology. And as long as there are those who suffer from the terrors of the night, the incubus will remain lurking in the shadows, waiting to strike when we are at our most vulnerable.